All right, so I'm so excited today to be joined by my student, Bill Apostolacus. How are you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing just fine, Mike. How are you?
Doing great.
That's good.
And so I am coming to you from the Brentwood, Tennessee area. Where are you from, Bill?
I'm outside of Philadelphia in Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
All right, great. And so I put the word out that I was doing some success stories, interviews for my students, and Bill mentioned that he had a story to share. And I've looked on your LinkedIn profile recently. I have an idea of what you've been up to, but I guess if you could share with me what you're doing today to start off with, as far as in the sales.
Okay. Today in September, I started my first full-time bona fide Salesforce admin position. It's a very large system, a 600 user system, and they have two developers. They're using the Service Cloud part of it. They've been on Salesforce for about 9 years, so they're a mature system, and they are in the process of moving to Lightning, which was one of the reasons that they hired me, because that's all I know really is Lightning. So I am technically an admin there. There's also two developers that are on the team also.
Okay, excellent. So congratulations on your first Salesforce job. That is
Thanks.
awesome. And so you're a Salesforce administrator, and your experience on Lightning is what helped seal the deal. How many interviews did you go on before you landed this job? How many no's did you get before you finally got a yes?
Oh, a lot. I started this September 18, 2018. And I finally got this one, I said this last September. Of that time, I had 92 Salesforce opportunities. Of those, I got like maybe 33, just crickets, no response at all. Of those, I actually had 59 interviews, first interviews, and then 26 second interviews, and then really 7 third interviews. And I took it from having some sales experience before. I took this whole journey as it's a sales thing. So it's about numbers. So the more opportunities I get, the closer I am to having that. And I always took no's. You said no's means next opportunity. You just have to keep positive about it. And I know it's tough, but it's how I kept going.
That's an excellent example of persistence, and I see a lot of students get discouraged when they are faced with being told no a few times,
Yeah.
and having that attitude of next opportunity. I like that for the acronym for no. That I'll have to keep that in mind when I'm being told no on things, which is often in different endeavors that I pursue.
Yeah.
I have a lot of crazy ideas, and sometimes it's best if I do hear no. So, when did this journey start? As far as when did you first discover Salesforce? What did that look like?
I discovered Salesforce. I was in the midst of a career change at the age of 56. In June of 2017, I was involved with a nonprofit group, 100% volunteer, called Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group, and they basically have meetings in the Philadelphia area for people looking for work. And more of a support group. You run around, okay, this is what I did, kind of keep you accountable on your job search. And they have all sorts of speakers come in and things like that. And I didn't know, I had just come from doing door-to-door solar sales for a year, 100% commission. I was like, I don't have the stomach for that. And I was thinking about what I wanted to do next. And in transition in this group, I met another Salesforce administrator. She told me about Trailhead. She told me about the whole ecosystem about Salesforce. And that's what my background really is really kind of software. And I was building access databases and things like that. I really like software a lot. And so once I found that out, I was like, I have to be a part of this. This is what I want to do, because I realized I could teach myself that. And also at the same time, Philadelphia Great Careers Group, they had heard about the free licenses that nonprofits could get. And they had a mixed match of, they're starting off and they said, we need someone to help us. I raised my hand and boom, that's what started it. I got my certification as an admin in April of 18, and really just started doing working with that Philadelphia Great Careers Group and getting them up and running, which is a challenge when it's 100% volunteer organization. So everything you do basically has to be out of the box there. So that's what kind of started me on that. And then when I really started interviewing in July of 18. So basically I knew I had to kind of quote unquote learn, and get there. And then the continual thing I got, and I knew I was going to get this every time when I've gotten on these 59 first interviews, it always came down to, oh, you don't really have the practical experience. But I was a BA, business analyst for 3 years in my previous position on a CRM, enterprise-wide CRM installation there. So I know software. I actually spent about 8 years working for a software developer in that same sort of role way back. So I knew I had the wiring in order to do this, and it was a matter of convincing people, and just it really came down to networking. Really is what it comes down to. You're not going to find that Salesforce position just by applying for things online. You have to get out there and network and talk to people and learn. And that's the great thing about the Salesforce ecosystem. I got real involved in all the user group meetings here in the Philly area, and I was just so impressed with everyone's looking to help you out all the time, and I'm doing that as we speak. Helping others get into the ecosystem.
Okay, excellent. So first certification was admin certification. That was April of 2018. And then if I remember correctly from your LinkedIn profile, unless you haven't updated recently, you've got 3 more certifications.
I do. And all this year, actually. In May, I got the Sales Cloud Consultant certification. I immediately, in June, did the Nonprofit Cloud Consultant, because that's where a bulk of my Salesforce knowledge was. I said, well, I got the Sales Cloud from your course. It was great. I was like, well, the concepts are going to be the same as far as the consultant end of things. So boom. And that was actually the only one I passed on the first time, the nonprofit one. And then this last September, just before I started my current position, I got I took your app builder, platform app builder, and I passed that there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great combination of certifications. And then also you noticed how you passed the nonprofit the first time, and that's because you had some real hands-on experience in this space, which is huge, which is really helpful. So as you started interviewing and getting hit with not enough experience, what did you do to help combat that? How did you overcome those objections ultimately?
You try to, just continue to learn and to get these. And in hindsight, maybe I should have gotten some of those certifications before, because that's really, I think, what was building that. But also, it was trying to convince them that it's not about this; it's about all the other skill sets I bring to the table. You're getting a business analyst out of me. You're getting a project manager, getting a relationship manager, getting really a sales guy in some ways, and trying to get them. But in the end, it's about finding that sweet spot, that there's going to be eventually something's going to happen. My first paid field Salesforce position was actually in this past June was it was just a contract position. And that's really what got me going out of the nonprofit version. It was a small, and they were actually an IT consulting company. They were dabbling a little bit in the pharmaceutical area here in the Philly area with Salesforce, installing Salesforce. They were just getting in, but they had just bought it for themselves. Now they were small. They were only they had an 8-user license, and they got professional edition. But it's typical shoemakers, kids have no shoes. They had gotten it last September, a year ago, and hadn't really had time to do anything with it. So he said, well, hey, why don't you come on board and help us install this? And maybe we'll have some clients we can farm you out to. And then, by the time, so that was interesting experience having full access to Salesforce previously with your free developer system, and then to have the constraints of a professional edition. I could only have 5 process builders, so I had to make them work, but I was able to play with that. I really enjoyed using the platform, the paths, and they absolutely love these things. And then when that was, the time was up there and the contract was coming up, and then at the same time, a recruiter, and I've been very involved with recruiters, reached out to me and say, hey, I worked with you, this is a recruiter I'd worked at with kind of very early in my job hunting there. And he reached out and said, hey, they're looking for someone at MedRisk, which is the company I'm with now. And we think it'd be a good match. I went in, and they said their biggest issue right now is Lightning adoption, and that's what I'm working with now, is the latency issues that are with Lightning, especially with a legacy system, and that basically everything was put on a details page. So of course it's going to be slow. So it's giving them those options, as far as what Lightning can really do, and getting excited about it.
Awesome. So before this full-time position opened up, you worked a short-term contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people oftentimes have some opportunities for contract work, but they're afraid to take that step because it's not as permanent as an employment opportunity.
Right.
But it sounds like that was instrumental in kind of that next step on the ladder for you, because I did give you some paid experience then, and that probably helped you in future interviews because you could speak to practical real world experience. And then also the limitations found in the professional edition helped you to exemplify how you were able to work within constraints and figure out problems,
exactly,
puzzles, stuff like that. So
exactly. One other thing I noticed too that I changed. I never told anyone I was volunteering. It was a contract position. Okay. And I found that was, and actually a recruiter made that comment to me. He said, don't say you're recruiter, you're volunteering, because it's kind of in the business world, it doesn't make it real, and and I actually put on my profile that this was the Philadelphia Great Careers Group. That is a on my resume, as I was working there, because I was spending, it was basically a part-time job installing that, and time I spent on that. So it was more than just a couple hours a week or something like that. So I think that's another thing that people saying, don't say you're, because you can go in and, I got, you just, you can be an independent contractor, with your own consulting business. And that's the way I presented it in interviews, after about halfway through.
Right. You started to learn how to position, and that's
exactly.
part of the sales technique as well. So it sounds like you position yourself as an independent consultant or contractor, doing business as yourself, or did you?
Yeah. Doing business as myself, really, sole proprietor.
Okay. And that helps to fill up some of the gaps, perhaps, if there is time between jobs as well. So that's excellent. Those are great tips. And there's been times where I've done likewise in the past as well. So I
Mhm.
think that's great advice. And it's good to talk to students and find out your journey as well, because I'm a little bit removed from that time for myself now. And so it helps me to remember what that was like and those steps that you go through and just that hustling and that grind. And
Mhm.
so what were some of the doubts? What were some of the things that you had to fight against? Because I think we all think we're too this, we're too that, we're not technical enough, or whatever. What were your biggest challenges to overcome with that imposter syndrome, or was there doubt, or did you know it's just a matter of time?
I just knew it was a matter of time. And because I was so convinced. I said, this is what I'm going to do. No one's going to beat me down to do this, because it's everything, the world, this career, have being able to have 92 opportunities. So I knew the marketplace needs us. And that brings another thing is, I was 22 years at a company before I kind of got into all this. And I remember that feeling of, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And you kind of have this beholden to the company. It's like, oh my God, if they let me go, the world's going to end. I don't have that feeling anymore, because I know I have a skill set that the market needs. And some of those other recent postings you put out, about the future of Salesforce jobs. And I know tomorrow I can get another job in Salesforce. So I don't, and it kind of, it's kind of freeing in a lot of ways, in that, I know I'm not going to be in this position for a long time, but I don't need it to be, because now I'm an admin of a 600 user system. In a year, I'll have them transitioned to Lightning Service Console, because, and that's a hard date, because Salesforce is in February. Salesforce is decommissioning the agent console that they're on. So they're having to come up to speed very quickly. But I know that, that's going to bode well for me. And I really enjoy, I think, my next career, Salesforce, as far as Salesforce career, I think I'd like to get more involved in the consultant end of things. I think I have the combination of my skill sets, and I really do enjoy putting these things together, and looking how the Salesforce can improve a process.
Excellent. So you've got 4 certifications, and you're wanting to just continue to grow in the consultant space, building applications, solving problems for companies.
Mhm.
Do you have any other certifications on your roadmap, or not?
Not quite yet. One of the reasons, because I know it is tough to study and work at the same time with these things. So that's why I was like, okay, I got to hurry up and get all of these before I really kind of get into it. I don't have anything on the docket yet. I don't think I'll go for another certification, at least for another year. Um, because now I know I got the certification. Now I know what I really need is just the practical experience, and that's just a matter of time.
Right.
But I know that I'm set for success now that I
Yep.
have gotten going. And everyone's told me that I've come in contact with, said that getting that first job is the hardest.
Yes, definitely. So now that you're on the other side of this and you've completed that step of the journey, what have been some surprises? What advice would you have for others that are trying to make it over into the gainfully employed in the Salesforce ecosystem? What what are things that I didn't prepare you for? What are things that Trailhead didn't prepare you for, or
I
that
think it's
surprised
more
you?
from it's not really from a, like, okay, so you can get all the Salesforce experience and stuff like that. At that point, I took a lot what I got from Philadelphia Great Careers Group, because at that point it's you're marketing yourself. It's a sales job, and it's all about networking. It's network, network, network. That's how 90% of jobs are filled, through networking. Okay, if you're applying for a Salesforce position and you're not on LinkedIn, and it's also about, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, that's how I started branding myself Salesforce. I have banners with my Salesforce certification. I'm just all about Salesforce. And so you're telling people what you are, and then you're waiting for them to come. But it's all about the networking, with user groups. I can't stress that enough, because I was just earlier this week, we were in Philadelphia for the Philadelphia Philadelphia user group meeting. And one of the first things they go around, and there are consulting companies in there and these user groups, and they said, okay, who's looking for a job? And people will talk, and then who's looking to hire? And everyone's looking to hire, especially developers, but that's a whole nother story. And in fact, this month I'm actually going to be co-leader of a group here in Westchester, in our area, that we were, and I've been involved with them pretty much since my Salesforce journey. They started off as a nonprofit admin user group, and now we're kind of expanding that out to for-profit nonprofit there. So I'm real excited to start giving back to the community.
Amazing. And that's a common refrain that I see, is that there's so much help in the ecosystem, and it is unusual. It's not like other ecosystems I've been involved in. What's your dog's name? I see him.
Oh, that's Onyx. Hey, Onyx.
Onyx. Hi, Onyx. So I think part of that is that because now that you have a marketable skill, you future-proofed your skills, and this gives you relevancy into the future. And I think that frees us up as professionals to not guard the wisdom and the knowledge. And unlike in a lot of other IT spaces where you reach out for help and it's almost like you're looked down upon for not knowing something, it seems like there's not a lot of tech snobs in the Salesforce space, which is refreshing. And then you are going out, and now you are where you're at, helping to pay that forward, or to kind of spread the message about, hey, and it's because you've done it, so you're being an inspiration to others as well, which is nice to see. So anyways, great work on that.
And I'm also continuing to volunteer. I just set up another small nonprofit with the nonprofit version. So that's two that I'm volunteering for. And actually I have a couple other contacts that I'm thinking of reaching out and letting that nonprofit world know about Salesforce.
Awesome. That's great. So trying to think what else we need to cover. Is there any cause or thing you want to plug, or anything, or any endeavor?
No, it's been a journey. I'm in and I'm at the stage of my life where my children are, I'm getting that second stage. I'm going to be 59 next week, but it's and you're trying not to. I guess the biggest message is you're never too old, and you just have to get that marketable skill set. And Salesforce, it's so affordable. Your courses were affordable. Other courses I talked to supplement yours were affordable. And $200 for a certification, that's dirt cheap, So, you don't have to get, degrees or anything like that. You can just go right into it. And Trailhead, just wow. It is it's such a cool learning tool to be able to use. And, when you got all of that, you're just kind of set up for success.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It is just a matter of time. And when you see all the resources available out there, it is, if you can form a sentence, if you have the capacity to do that, and read and just understand, and that it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about not needing to go out and get a college degree. Do you have a college degree?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I have a 4-year BA degree, um, but that really kind of, I think, in this day and age, kind of just gets you started.
Mhm.
I don't have an MBA or anything like that, and I think the marketplace now requires specific skill sets, because jobs are getting very specific. And before I was, basically the Excel guru and the Access guru, and I tried some consulting with that, and I realized that, number one, there's no real support for that if you're doing it on your own, and so there's no real ecosystem. And I realized too that it was kind of passe. That really the cloud computing, that's where the future is. And I was looking at you know getting going into my retirement years and stuff like that, and that, oh, this is all remote. I can do this anywhere. It's just, as I said before, it's just so freeing.
Excellent. So, of those 59 job interviews you went on, how many asked you about your education? How many times did that come up?
Oh, zero,
Okay, good
zero,
answer. That's what I try
zero.
to tell people, and I've been asked a few times, and I don't have a college degree personally. And fortunately for me, I mean, when I discovered Salesforce, it just changed the whole trajectory of my life and my family. It was a really big deal. But that's interesting. So I'm, trying to. I think that if you have that degree, that's great.
Mhm.
And if you have the opportunity to get one, but it's not necessarily that is the key to success today. So
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
just curious in your own experience out there in the trenches here recently, across those
Yeah.
59 and then 26, I wrote this down, 26 second interviews, 7 third interviews,
Yeah.
and then finally landing a contract job.
Well, actually, and out of those 7 interviews, I had 2 offers because I
Okay.
had, why I'm counting that contract one that I had for 3 months. So
Right, right. Yeah. So, and really, that's not a bad ratio. Some people might hear that and go, oh my goodness, 92 opportunities or 59 interviews. But after going through that many interviews, 59 plus 26 plus 7, that's a big number.
hmm
You probably learned a lot in that process and got
oh
a lot better, a lot more comfortable. And sometimes it may take 100 interviews for people to get over the jitters and the nerves and to
yeah.
find that balance as well. So, tell me one thing, one big takeaway or word of encouragement for others that do feel nervous about interviewing. After going through so many interviews, what is something that you can impart on others after having gone on this journey and done so many interviews?
I think it was, for me, it was you have to go in with confidence. And part of what I thought about was not so much, oh my God, am I going to get this job? You have to come into it thinking about, number one, boom, this is what I'm going to do. And you have to be convinced of that. No one's going to stop me from doing this. And you have to think about it. It's all about matching up. It's matching up personalities. It's all a match. But also too, it is also a lot of networking. What I found in my current position, I'll be honest, with the current position, I went on to LinkedIn, and this is the beauty of LinkedIn. And if you don't have more than 500 connections on LinkedIn, you got to get 500 connections, because that's how you're going to get found on LinkedIn. But I went on to LinkedIn. I found out I knew a person at the company I'm at with now. I called him up, and he said, this is great. He said, this position actually reported to me about a year and a half ago till we restructured. And he gave me the whole skinny. So that information was so powerful when I went into there. But also too, he made mention, so they already knew I'm a known quantity. And that's why the networking is so important, because in the interview process, you're an unknown quantity. As soon as you get an employee referral, or you get someone in there that you get referred to, or you have some sort of connection in there, all of a sudden now you're known. You're known within this community, this company's community. And that's, yeah, you will find, and some of it is a matter of, okay, we need the skill sets and stuff like that. But in the end, it you know, I was watching earlier today. You just released this afternoon Justin's interview, and I watched that. And one of the things, and I had to agree with it, was that, you know, they talk about, you know, do you get the, you know, did you get quizzed on what was, and not really, because at that point, it's about a fit. It's about a fit. Are your skill sets a fit for what they're looking for? And that's in what I was doing. They were looking for someone that had lightning experience or knew lightning. I'm also the first certified person that they've had in this position in 9 years. So I think that, you know, before that, they were basically accidental admins. So now they're really, I'm kind of bringing more of a professional take on this position here. And I post that all the time at, you know, at work on my email thing. I put down, I'm 4-time certified Salesforce, but that goes out to everyone in the company that I interact with. So, you know, you're again, that brand. I'm exuding that brand, and I got 3 Salesforce stuffed animals on my desk.
Yeah, so you look the part. You know, I always liked, and I'm all about personal branding as well. I mean, I always filmed my logo in the background. It's obnoxious. My old baseball bat that I got at the Louisville Slugger Museum with my name on it. But people wonder, why do you have a bat in the background? Well, that's my personal security device. But anyway, you mentioned LinkedIn, and I couldn't agree with you more. That's a great network to be on and be active, and that does get you found, and you start to pop up in other people's feeds as well. Mm-hmm. And so I think to round this out, and I'm curious in this new career trajectory for you, and I'm not looking for specific numbers, but have you had an increase in salary, or how is that looking for you?
Well, yeah, you could probably say I had 100% increase in salary because I was unemployed.
Right.
You know, but I am where after a 22 year career, I'm back to where I was when I left that company. And that's really where I wanted to be. Yep. But I know that I know very confidently I'm going to be making more than that within a year in my next, you know, I'm in the next position.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bill. I really enjoyed our time together. You're an inspiration, and I look forward to sharing your story with others.
Thank you, Mike, for all that you've offered the community.